Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Spirit Stream TV. I'm your host, multidimensional healer and channeler Jai Brady, and today we have a very special guest for your viewing and listening pleasure. She's a renowned psychic medium and energy healer with a mass following on TikTok. Let's welcome to the show, Anita Jensen.
Hi, everyone.
Anita, welcome. How you going?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Going good.
Mate.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here. It's been quite a few tries to get you on.
It's been
here.
a process.
Our schedules haven't really aligned, and they aligned last night, and then an electrical storm ruined it. So here we are.
It was so funny. Yeah, with that one, I actually thought I was going to get a power outage.
Yeah,
It turned out you guys did.
So you saw it coming, but thought
I
it was
did.
you.
I actually did. And I thought it was me that was going to have the issue.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to know, because I love talking to psychic mediums, right? How long have you been professionally working as a medium?
Professionally, not very long. I use the TikTok platform, and I've been on there about 2.5, nearly 3 years.
Okay.
So professionally,
That's
yeah,
really not a long time to create the
it
following
isn't.
that you have.
No.
Wow, they must love what you do.
I've had some transformations this year. Let's just say that. A lot of that came from that. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay. So for those, I guess, listeners and viewers at home that may not be familiar, what's the difference between a psychic and practicing mediumship?
So the easiest, I guess, distinctive definition for each is a psychic is like foreseeing future events. So that ties in with your clairvoyance and things like that, the seeing. But that's where I struggle too, because I don't try to limit myself and put myself in a box, because what I see is past, present, and future as well. And mediumship is connecting with loved ones in spirit. But in saying that, I've built my company up this year, Energetic Embrace. Everything is energy, and it's about embracing that. So my mediumship skills cross over to the living as well.
Yeah.
So I can see, feel,
Okay.
hear, sense what they're going through as well. But yeah, I guess the standard definition is speaking to your loved ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and loved ones for you aren't necessarily limited to humans, right? So, you can communicate with
Animals.
the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Animals. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't
Have
had
you got any
much.
cool animal stories?
Not really. You put me on the spot. I don't know. um,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. Just trying to think of one. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
No, that's all right. Um, I remember I spoke to a animal psychic, and my dog died quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
My one of my middle children still communicate with that dog, by the way, and that dog died long before they were born. But
I love
yeah,
that.
they talk to it like it's still there, and
Yeah.
it's so cool. But
Yeah,
yeah,
like
she
I'll bring
touched on
through
some.
certain behaviors
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
sessions and things like that, that sort of just is unique to the person. Like they know the behaviors of theirs. So it's not like a collective thing that, you can put across the board. It's very specific.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, oh, your dog's barking and
Yeah,
running
that's
running
right.
along the beach.
Yeah,
Does he like parks? Yeah, maybe a little bit more specific than that.
that's right.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Um, so do you come across skeptics from time to time? I imagine you would in just part and parcel of being on TikTok.
Yeah, I do. And I
Yeah.
think for me, it doesn't worry me. It's more the viewers get involved. But I like to lead by example and just show, allow them to stay in the room and sit in the energy and just watch.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I find if they stay for long enough, then and they see enough validations, some
That's
people
right.
just
Yeah.
need that sort of convincing, hey. But the
Yeah.
thing is, you never know what they're doing on the other side of TikTok. They could be driving their car and not paying attention as they're watching it,
exactly.
or
Yeah.
they could be they could be drunk
I
or
had a
whatever,
lady
or
come
out at a
in.
party.
That's it. Yeah. I had a lady come in at the beginning of the year, and it was kind of, I had a lot in the TikTok room that
Yeah.
particular night, just because I had a post that sort of went a bit viral. And, she was being cheeky and, what color is, whoever it was that had passed over, she's like, what color is their hair? And it just came to me straight away. I'm like, red, as I'm reading through all the other comments. And she actually got back to me only a few weeks ago and said, oh my gosh, I don't know if you remember me, but I've been trying to find you since
Oh
like
wow.
January or February. Um,
Yeah.
and you called out the exact color of my partner's or whoever it was for them. You called the color out correctly. And I'm like, yeah, like it didn't faze me. It's like, yeah, because that was the information I received at the time. Like for me, it's
Yeah.
just a part of everyday life.
Yeah. People think that you're ducking and weaving and saying all sorts of things just to appease
Yeah.
people, or some sort of scheme. But I I know you through TikTok and for quite a while now. You've helped me personally grow my business on TikTok, and I'm forever grateful for
Yeah.
you. But yeah, I've seen you hit on some pretty crazy things, not just on TikTok, but for me personally with my son.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been amazing to see, to watch you grow as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the next steps for you.
That's the thing. Like, it's really nice having that feedback as well, because part of that keeps me going,
Oh,
doing what I
mate,
love to do. So,
I hear you. I hear you
yeah.
as a healer, and
Yeah.
especially on TikToks when I change positions, I'm always like, oh, so just want to put in a comment what you felt. Like, it's okay if you felt nothing, but and then you just see comment after comment go, oh my god, I felt this. People that have never
Yeah.
felt energy before and they're suddenly feeling it, and how
Yeah.
can this be done through like
It's exciting,
because it
isn't it? It's
can.
exciting.
It is
And I
exciting.
live
I
off
I
that
get a kick
vibe
about
too.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bit I know not meant to, I guess, but a bit of an ego boost. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask you. So some people wake up to gifts, like go through an awakening and come out with gifts. Some people are attuned to them. What are your, I guess, earliest memories of when your gifts were apparent?
So for us, I guess it's more of a cultural thing. So my mum is Torres Strait Islander. So we grew up
Mm.
knowing that there was, more to life than what we see visually. There was always something more. Um, but a part of that too,
Oh, that's really
TikTok allows
important
me.
that you were nurtured through that as a child. A lot of people
Yeah. So
aren't these
we,
days. Hey,
that's the thing. So we just grew up knowing that it was already there and how it
yeah,
shows up either for aunties or uncles and eventually having our own experiences and things like that. But my earliest memories would be about four or five.
yeah.
We had some people move in next door to us, and they were moving in all their animals and stuff. And I remember my brother, who was 2 years younger than me, and we're leaning over the fence and just watching everything as kids do. And I remember saying to him, that dog's name is such and such, and the other dog is named whatever it was, and they had a galah as well, and I named the galah. So when,
Oh, did you?
the neighbours had a kid, like a little girl as well, around my age, and she came over and introduced herself and her brother, and she was then going through all the pets' names, and I just remember looking at him like, "See, I told you." Just this
Yeah,
little dig like that I'd already knew, and I had experiences like throughout schooling as well, where I just had a knowing for things. I
yeah.
remember also seeing my great 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 grandmother's aura as well, and just feeling her energy, being really pure as well. So yeah, about four or five for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Hey,
Yeah,
yeah. As I said, it's really important to be able to nurture that. Like my kids are probably in a good position where they my kid, like my eldest can like see stuff before it happens, like, and I always think that's cool, like X-Men stuff, right? So I like full on nurture it. But a lot of people, especially like when we were younger, not necessarily you, because you're fortunate enough to be in the situation that you are, but a lot of people in our generation and generations before, like, we were really, I guess, ostracized for that sort of stuff. And that's when those walls got built up. But yeah, it's really a testament to the vibration of the earth now that that there is such a welcoming to it for the most
Yeah.
part. I mean,
That's what I
yeah.
actually liked about TikTok. That was one of the first things that I had seen because I remember. Um, so my eldest daughter is 8 now, and I've been on TikTok since she was 5. But since she was
I didn't
one,
even think TikTok was
2,
that old. Hey,
I know
I
it
must
goes
have
longer.
just discovered it
Apparently,
like so late. Yeah,
it goes
wow.
longer. It's like been around for a while. Um, and yeah, when my eldest daughter was 2, I remember like getting into oracle cards and knowing that like I want to do more. I want to like read for my friends or just read for more in general, but I didn't know
Mm.
how that was going to look. So I remember asking for it like to open pathways and show me how I can do that with having little ones around. And I remember one of the things for TikTok, one of my fears was doing readings of a nighttime. I don't know why, but it sat with me like it was just like creepy to me to do readings at a nighttime because I didn't want to leave myself open and vulnerable, if that made sense. But that was like how
You
my
know,
mindset was at that time.
it's funny that you should say that, because a lot of people think the same thing. Like it sort of creeps them out.
Yeah.
I feel like my best healings are done at night because I feel
Yeah.
more connected for some reason. And
Yeah.
I'm probably not more connected, but it's just that my belief is there. So like that, it just feels so much stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Hey.
I know, it's crazy. So that was one of the things to get over. And then I was like, oh, look, heaps of people are doing it. So it must be okay. So I started
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Good. And now you're always on at night. Like
Always on. But I am
if I
pulling
jump
back.
on TikTok at night, it's you there
Yeah, I'm pulling back. I'm pulling back because
stealing the show.
that's what I mean. Like I've been doing it so long now. Well, it feels like forever, but because I've had little ones growing up beside me as well. So I'm burning the candle at both ends. So, I'm doing days with them
Yeah,
and still, working essentially night hours. So yeah, it's crazy. So pulling back. My
yeah,
body's having enough.
yeah,
It's like, nah, being more routine
yeah.
next year.
You're right. There's only so much you can do, and
Yeah.
I think that you're probably best served to pull back in regards to the duration because I've seen you go pretty late,
To me, like if
and
it's
I know.
flowing, it's flowing.
Yeah, I know, and but the energy to me for you feels like you might feel like you have some sort of obligation because it's flowing and it's hitting and you're getting that
Yeah,
dopamine hit of the ego boost and a lot
that's
of
the
people
thing. Like,
asking
so
questions and
that has been
you're
one
just
of
the
the.
type of person that wants to fulfill them,
Yeah, I have actually
Yeah.
worked a lot in that area this year. If you'd have known me when I was first on TikTok, I was going from like 9
Yeah.
9 p.m. to 3 a.m. every night, just about.
Oh,
And I was doing free
okay.
readings, all free full readings, just getting my
Yeah.
face out there. But
Yeah.
the energy
Wow.
exchange was like, let me know how I'm hitting, let me know how I'm, validate what I'm saying for you. So that was the exchange
Of course.
when
Yeah.
I was, yeah,
Yeah. And that in itself would have been, and that's something that people can look at when they're trying to grow their TikTok business. Not necessarily to burn the candle at
no,
both
no,
ends,
don't do that.
but definitely need to put in the hours, I guess, to get the type of following that you do. So
Well, in all honesty,
yeah,
like that, I had half of that following, or just under half of that following. So I was still at like 8,000 people only in January. And then I had this transformation because I
okay,
joined an Akashic Records workshop and I transformed a few things within that short workshop. And I saw the effects of that almost immediately that afternoon and that leading into that
okay,
evening. And I was like, I gave myself permission. I was like, yeah, I'm ready to hit 10,000 people, 10,000 followers. Um, and part of that was like that night I was happy to see a post reach like a hundred likes. And I was like, yay, I'm doing it. I'm still getting my face
yeah,
out there a little bit. That was progress. During that live, after I finished that live, I'd hit my exactly 10,000 followers. And the next day that had doubled to where I am just about today. So
yeah,
21,000 or something.
wow,
And it was,
yeah,
yeah, just crazy. I was like, I can do this.
wow.
Woo.
Look
Only
at you
because I gave
instantly
myself
manifest.
permission. Well,
So I
that's
got to
it.
find
'Cause
out more about that Akashic workshop though. So how did you find out about that?
so that was the thing too. Like, that came about when I was like, right. what are my next steps? What do I need to be doing? What do I need to build on? Show me my next mentor. And along came Serafina, like 2 days later. I had stumbled across one of her lives and she was offering an Akashic workshop. I did the workshop. It was running that weekend. So it was only like 4 hours, I think, when we did it. Had so much, like I said, so much transformation just from that one workshop, that I was like, yep, sign me up to your course. And I didn't have the money at the time to do it. So I remember going home, like signing off on because it was via Zoom. So I remember signing off on that and then asking my guides, like, if I am meant to, like, because I could feel it within me to do this course, if I'm meant to do it, I need X amount of dollars in my account tonight so that I can make the first installment. And it was there. It was there to the dollar. And I was like, righto, righto, let's do it.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's just like stem from there. It's just snowballed just by asking, and following my truth, like following that path and aligning with that.
So I'll tag her in this video as well because she's a very important person and
she is, yeah.
I guess somewhat of a mentor to both of us. So what happens in the Akashic Records workshop?
So I remember we went and looked at our own records. And I remember that we did a meditation, and Serafina had put us in a place almost like, what do we need to do right now in order to help us, transform and change, what's of most importance there, what's to our highest good. And for me, it was, this is where it blows my mind too. For me, it was not being seen. I was transformed into saw myself as a little girl around the age of 4 or 5. I didn't have my parents anywhere. Nobody was concerned about a little girl standing by themselves. And I could see people like racing past me, busy with their day. Nobody saw me. And then I look ahead and I see this dog, shaggy old dog. And I walked up to the dog and like the dog saw me. Yeah. And I remember like crying through that meditation. And so I healed that part of not being able to, like, not being seen. Like I put the value and everything back into myself. And what had transpired that afternoon was like, I had an urgency to put a post up, and then the post was seen, and then I was seen as for what I do. And it just grew from there.
Just and then,
so I did her Akashic 1 class, and then I signed up to do her Akashic 2. And then from that, I was also simultaneously doing the quantum healing as well. So it was all, and like for me this year, like I'm a single mum this year to 5 kids, but somehow the money has always been there to be able to pay for these courses are in US dollars. And, some of them are up to $2,000.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been on their website and there's ones more expensive than that.
And that's the thing. I would ask my guides and say, like, if this aligns with me, like I can feel it there. It's something I really want to do. I need to be doing this. Basically show me the money. Have it show up for me so I can put down these installments. And it was there. And I did those 4 courses. I just finished paying off my last course. So it's just, it just blows me away, like the transformation from that. And stepping into a new business as well. If you'd said to me last year, you're going to be running your own business, I'd be saying, nope, sorry, not me.
Yeah.
So it's
too busy for that.
Well, too busy anyway, but it's just crazy. Like when you're stepping into your truth, like those doorways really do open for you. So it's fascinating.
And if it's aligned with you, if it's what you're meant to be doing, like the universe finds a way,
It always does, and that's the thing I try to teach or lead by example. Teaching by leading by example, because
sometimes you can take the long way there, but either way you get there.
That's it. That's it. But that's the other thing too. It can be as easy or as hard as we need it to be too.
Yeah, exactly. So getting back, firstly, just touching on that Akashic stuff. So are you at a level where you can teach that Akashic stuff now?
I wouldn't be comfortable teaching. No.
Yeah. Or you just use it yourself in
So I use it. I use everything that I've learnt there. Yeah. So everything I've learnt there, I can do on myself.
Yeah.
Heal myself. Partly that I'm healing my children as well for ancestral timelines and things like that. And
Sure.
then I use it through work as well. Anyone has, blocks showing up, sometimes they come to me, and I haven't had anyone come to me specifically for like, I need healing on relationship stuff. Where does this come from? Things like that. They
Yeah.
usually come to me with highest and best good. So what is being shown to you now is the highest and best good. And I will go through, they will show me like a past timeline, and I'll say, right, in this timeline, this, and this had happened. Do you find that still happens in your here and now? Is that something that you currently struggle with? And most of the time it's there. They're like, yeah, oh my gosh. Like, I'm like, yeah, well, it's just showing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you say that you were shown that, I want to know, how do you connect with that realm? So are you clairvoyant, or because I know that you said that you just knew things, so
Yeah.
that's not clairvoyancy, but are you also clairvoyant now, or has those grown? The different clairs,
Yeah.
I guess, grown over the
They've,
years.
yeah. I mean, to say they've grown, they have, like, they're just clearer. They come in faster. So
Yep.
that's everything, sight, knowing, smell, even
Yep.
taste, it's all open. It's always all open. It's just what we do to block
Sure.
those. Yeah.
Sure. So,
So
but when you started out, so taking your mind back to when you were four, or whatever whatever age you said, was it just one Claire that was predominant, that was
um,
dominant, I should say,
I would
or was just
say my
naturally all of them?
clairaudience was like everything was there in elements, but like looking back, I feel like clairaudience was there. So hearing spirit,
Yeah.
hearing loved ones. But the knowing was like a close second or a close first. You know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
all. And whereas now I don't have a tendency to separate them. I try to
Yeah.
work on it. I know I don't even try to work on it. It's like, where am I being led? My
Yeah.
guides are always showing me where I need to strengthen. Like whenever I go through upgrades or anything like that, um, my guides will basically, I don't know if it's my guides, my higher self, that sort of stuff I'm still working out, but everything
Yeah.
almost gets flipped on its head. And it's like, where I would normally see spirit coming through for a mediumship reading, they're like, no, no, we know you can do that. Let's try and work on feeling their energy. Let's try and bring that through. What are you picking up here? For a
Mm,
moment that throws me off because I'm so reliant on sight. Um,
yeah.
but again, in order to grow, we have to get uncomfortable, and we have to push ourselves, and we have to keep showing up for ourselves too.
Yeah. Look, one thing I find about psychics and mediums in general, is the ones that are clairvoyant, right, and only clairvoyant.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of interpretation that comes with just seeing something. So you could see pictures or movies, but then you have to interpret it in your
Yeah.
way, and that
Yeah.
that there lies, or could lie, an issue between your communication with the client. So I guess that probably puts you a cut above most, that you don't have a lot of interpreting to do, because you can see it, but you can also hear it and you can feel it, and it breaks down that interpretation, I guess,
Yeah.
limitation or boundary.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because everything comes in so quickly that when I try to break it down, it's, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
just a natural part of me that I've accepted. So I just continue to do the
yeah.
thing, just do it.
And that's because you know how to let go, and a lot of people don't know, or can't really let go.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for people to relinquish control. So
Yeah.
whereas you, because you've been doing it for so long, since you were so young, you've felt like you were safe. You felt
I think
like
that's a
you're in
big
control by not
marker.
being in control. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's a huge marker because safety is the biggest thing that, people don't feel safe when stepping into this because, television or media has portrayed, spirit or the energy of just being and sitting in your spiritual space as something very
Yeah,
negative. So it has that negative tone to it as well. But it's about
yeah,
finding what feels safe to you. And And I always say, get curious, ask questions, ask those leading questions too. Like, what am I seeing here? What is it breaking down to? Is there a different question that you can ask about that?
Yeah.
And it grows with the more that you get curious. The spirit will
Yeah.
always show you things that you're familiar with, whether it be a smell, taste, seeing something, whatever that is, having an experience. So knowing the feeling of an experience, if we talk about anxiety, for example, that will bring
Yeah.
those feelings through. But I think that's the biggest thing is the fear, especially if people have had, terrible childhood memories about seeing something while they've been asleep or waking up to something. And our human instinct will always go to that fear, that place of fear if there's something not familiar in front of us. So it's about trying to drop that and get curious about, right, what is this? What am I
Yeah.
seeing here? Who are you? What are you to me? What does this mean to me?
Yeah. Easier said than done,
It is.
because of the reasons that you just suggested, but
Yes,
absolutely, and it's repetition more than anything,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, just because it
That's
doesn't
for
work the
me.
first time doesn't mean it
Yeah,
doesn't work in general. You just got to keep at it.
exactly. Yeah.
Michael
That's the
Jordan
other
missed
reason I like.
9,000 shots or something, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's
Hey, I
why I love
wanted to,
TikTok because it's allowed me to grow and keep being
yeah,
consistent in that way. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and speaking of that, what's, I guess, the best guidance that you could give for someone starting out on their spiritual journey?
Still, use discernment because a lot of the things, you've got to work out what it means to you. So again,
Yeah,
it's that curiosity. Get curious with it. What does it mean? Sit in people's rooms or sit with people that, show you a way that they do things, and again, ask the questions in that space. What does
yeah,
it mean when you do this? Or what does it mean when you smell this? Well, for me, it means, and you can say what it is, but at the same time, we've got to work out what it means for us. How
yeah,
is that message being interpreted for us? What does it mean to my experiences? So it's
yeah.
all,
Look, I tend to agree with you. Most people, as I said, have a dominant Claire, and it, rather than focus on the Claires that you don't have and why you don't have, it's probably really important to be curious about the ones that you have and really lean into that. Because the more that you do that, the more that the others will open up because you're letting go.
yeah,
That's what I've found, and then from a business point of view, we touched on it before. Is the starting your TikTok, basically throwing everything at it. Doesn't have to be TikTok, but social media in general, throwing everything at it to get your face out there,
yeah,
and then you've got the spiritual, mental, emotional, and you've also got the business part of it. So, and then create a work-life balance after that, and then you're on the home straight, right?
yes. There's more balance coming in next year. I've got one little one at daycare, so more free time to
Yeah.
myself.
Oh,
Yeah,
good, good.
yeah,
So, uh, I just want to shift gears for a minute, and
sure.
we briefly spoke about this a while back, and I wanted to go further into it with you. Being a Queensland local, Cyclone Yasi was a pretty major event for you, right? Can you tell
Yes.
us a little about that event?
I believe that was category 4. I was living in Cairns at the time, and that had hit further south. But what I was doing before that came in, as I was trying to move house, I was actually in the process of packing up and moving further south. We had all intentions of moving before this cyclone had hit the coast, but it didn't work out that way, and we ended up leaving the next day. We got held up near Cardwell, um, but I remember
Yeah,
my
it did some
I
damage to Cardwell from memory, didn't it?
It did a fair bit, yeah, because it hit pretty much, I think just under there. I can't remember. It was quite some time ago, 2011, 2010. But yeah, I had dogs with me, cars, chock-a-block. We had like a 2-car convoy, and everything was packed to the brim. And I remember it had started to rain again, so I'd put the dogs in the car, and my particular car at the time was one of those cars that if you've got the key outside, it'll lock itself. And for whatever reason, I was rushing to get the dogs in, and I heard the lock go on the car. So the dogs were
Yeah.
locked in the car, but my
Oh,
keys were also in the car. I didn't have a spare key. I didn't have a spare set. The keys were on the driver's seat, and one of the dogs had stood on it and locked the car. And so my partner at the time, he's like, oh, I'm going to have to break the window. I'm like, no, because I had this overwhelming sense of calm come over me. I'm like, no, we
yeah.
don't have to do that. Like, that's not necessary. And I remember turning to him and saying, she will unlock it. It's fine. So I'm sort of moving around the car and getting her to jump from driver's seat to passenger seat. And she's sort of going back and forth. I can't even remember where the other dog was at the time. I think they were both pushing space on the front, the front seat and the passenger seat. Just one was a little bit more active. The other one was just looking at me like, you're crazy, mum. You do a loose around the car.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my partner, no, she's going to stand on it. She's going to stand on it. And every time she'd go over to the driver's seat, she'd kick the car a little, kick the keys a little bit over the cushioning of the seat. So it was just about to fall into between the console and fall all the way down. That last time she jumped over, click, I heard the door unlock. So I opened the car and it was just hanging, like the bulk of the key was sitting on it, but all the house keys and everything was actually in the console. So technically that all should have fell down because the weight was in the console. And it didn't. It didn't. She'd unlocked the car. So no broken windows. Wow. So I was happy about that.
What a weapon. How could you be calm in the face of that? Like, as a testament to you, because I feel like in that moment, I would have punched out the quarter panel of the car pretty sort of quickly.
Yeah, he was close to doing that. And I'm like, no, leave my car. Like, I make payments on that. You're not touching it,
Yeah.
I remember, like, the calmness is my grandmother. So my grandmother passed in 2004. And I remember whenever I went through struggles in my life, her energy would come in with this overwhelming sense of calm. So I knew that she was around and I was like, no, she's giving me all the good cues. And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. It will work out. Yeah. It may not look like it. It might look like a crazy woman going back and forth. But in all honesty, it took like 2 minutes from the car being locked to the car being opened and nearly having the keys fall off the side of the chair, like the cushion of the driver's seat.
Yeah.
But the calm is her, and that's how she comes in, and she's like, I'm right with you. Everything's going to be fine. That's her. Everything's going to be fine. And I'm like, okay, then let's do this.
Yeah, good on her. People often see me as a very calm person, but I feel like I'm that duck on the water. Like I would look all calm and graceful, and then I'm just kicking the shit out of the water. Yeah. So for someone that I guess has accomplished so much as a psychic and a medium, what made you want to get into quantum healing?
This is only like relatively new. The quantum stuff is only this year. So we spoke about Serafina briefly. So I did quantum 1 with her, quantum level 2 with her. Last year, I was just playing around and I was like, right, I've got energy in my hands. I even say to my kids, like, we've got healing hands. You can feel the energy there. You can feel the push-pull. And I knew I wanted to do something with that. And I was like, right, Reiki sprung to mind. I was like, okay, well, let's do Reiki. As I was looking around all the courses, I was getting overwhelmed. I didn't know which course was legitimate. I didn't know, if I could make it work with having young children and having no family support here. And I remember asking, I feel like Reiki is for me. What are my next steps there? What do I need to do? Put somebody in my pathway to open up those doorways for me. And I remember I did a spiritual development course with a lady by the name of Christy Treaty. She's Australian, and she's always running courses. And I did that with her. And this one particular course, I've done previous courses with her, but this one particular one, she had a lady in there that was one of her close friends, and she's actually a Reiki grandmaster. And she, at the end of the development course, she splits people off into groups of 2. Well, I didn't have a partner, and then here I was paired up with this Reiki teacher. So we did what we had to do within that course. And then I was like, oh, we've got some time. Can I pick your brain about Reiki? Where do you do it? How does it fit in? How do you run it? Like, I need to know more, because then I told her my little story. And And also based off that, my daughter, like a month prior, was in ICU with pneumonia as well, and she was with her dad was looking after her at the hospital. She spent about 2 weeks in hospital. I remember going to visit her because I had all the other kids, and I remember going to visit her and doing some like removing of mucus from her lungs and things like that without knowing what I was doing, but trusting the
Yeah.
process. So this is
Yeah.
pre Reiki. And I knew I
Yeah.
needed to build on that because 2 days later she came home, but I didn't put the dots together that I did that. When I saw
Yeah.
her, she should have been in hospital for another month.
Yeah.
She was not well.
Oh man. I've got so many stories just like that. And I went my whole life thinking, oh, this is just a coincidence. But yeah. Oh wow,
I
they
mean,
must have started eating right.
that didn't hit me until this year. Like this happened in
Yeah.
like April last year, and it didn't hit me until, I don't know, May, June, July this year. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I did that. I freaking did that. So for me, I did
Yeah, you did.
Reiki 1 and 2. I'm a level 2 practitioner for Reiki, Usui Reiki. Um,
Yep.
but I can't commit to like the discipline and the continuity of what Reiki requires because it builds on energy. It's a gentle energy, and it builds on that energy with consistency. But I couldn't
Yep.
commit because, again, single mum this year, 5 kids. I'm time full. Um, so I was like, I know there's more healing for me. Like what? And this is when I was saying, what are my next avenues? What do I need to do? Show me my next mentor. What is, there's more happening here. What is it? I'm ready for it. Um, and that's where, I led into the Akashic 1 and 2, and the quantum was there. And I'm like, okay, let's see if we can do that. And again, US dollars, single mum. I was like, can I afford paying off 2 courses simultaneously? And I did the same thing. If I'm meant to do this and I'm meant to do it right now, if the money shows up in my account tonight, I'm going to trust that I'm to put that down as my down payment. And it showed up and everything, and that's where it stemmed from. But I
Yeah.
love quantum because quantum compared to Reiki, for me, just works so much faster. I can feel
Yeah.
it. My clients can feel it happening. They're
Yeah.
seeing things transform within their lives immediately, whereas for me, Reiki would, 2, 3 months, you might not hear from the client. And, 2, 3, 4 months later down the track, they might get back to you and say, oh, I finally had this sort of transpire and things like that. So for me,
Yeah.
quantum is just amazing. And some of the things I've been shown with quantum is insane. It blows me away every time. Every time
Yeah.
I'm using it, it
Uh,
just blows me away.
I hear you. And it doesn't sound too dissimilar to multidimensional healing that I do in a sense. Because it I feel like it works faster than Reiki. It's certainly stronger than Reiki. Reiki
Yeah,
is such a gentle energy.
it's so
Um,
gentle.
yeah, yeah, which
But
is
then,
good.
see,
Like
quantum can
people
be
like
gentle
that.
too. Quantum can be
Yeah,
gentle too. But, I always say to people, if you want quantum, you come to me when you're ready for transformation, because there's no mucking around with it. If you're
yeah,
ready for it and you're willing to show up for yourself to heal traumas or whatever it is that's bothering you, you've got to be ready because there's no
yeah.
point going into something that you're not ready for because it's still going to be there. In some aspect, it's still going to be there. You're not going to
That's right.
transform it completely. Yeah,
Exactly the same thing that I say to my clients because if not, then you can still do the healing, but you'll only ever be a band-aid fix for them.
that's it.
They need to be ready. Yeah,
Yep.
and
Because
that's
when
why
they're
I
ready, they're
tell them
doing the work. They're
constantly. Tell
continuing.
yourself you're open to receive. Be ready for it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
be prepared to do the work. That's what doing the work is.
Yes.
You make
Yeah.
changes.
That's it. I love it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
amazing.
good. So what do we speak about manifestation as well? You've manifested some pretty cool things. What about your healing stories? Tell me more about some healing stories because I know that I know you haven't been doing it for that long, practicing that long. But I can tell you that you've helped my son in a session that he didn't even know about, obviously, because he was pretty young, and I'm very grateful for that. But what sort of healing stories have you had? Have you had any cool ones?
Um, Actually, yeah, I've had a few. I had a gentleman that I was doing healing on, and it's really interesting because I go into a completely different space with quantum. I don't know where I go, but I work very, very closely with my guides. Like they are talking to me nonstop. So I'm not only hearing them, I'm seeing them, I'm feeling them, and they're guiding me through the whole process. And so I'm also at the point where I'm taking it off my website to do it on TikTok. I don't want to do it on TikTok because some of the stuff that comes up is quite personal. And again, you've got to be ready for that healing, and you never know
Yes.
what's going to come up. So it needs to be a very personal, intimate space. So I've had somebody, and I remember
But
getting this
likewise, that could be
vision.
the same in mediumship and you know your psychic connection. You never really know what's going to come up in that.
Well, that's it. You never know. And, I've got an
That
interesting
could be
story about
deeply
that too.
personal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And we've had a few very extremely personal ones that, aren't sort of TikTok friendly, but, we work around it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, this healing that I did for this gentleman, I remember him, I had a vision and I saw him around about 7 years old. And this is the thing, they're very specific because I'm knowing the age of the, whatever I'm being shown. Because my guy's like 7 years old, and then they're showing me an image of him, and I'm like, you're running to the back of your shed. I see you at 7 years old doing this. I see you running there crying. But I also feel like you didn't have a safe space to share your emotions, and that was like your safe space. And he broke down. He said, yeah, because that's all I had. So seeing very specific details. Another one, I had a lady, I was told, like my guides were telling me, at the age of 15, something very specific happened. And that's all I had to go off. I'm like, they're telling me at the age of 15, there's something there, something that something specific. It was transformative. It has affected your life. It still does. And she couldn't think. And she's like, I had this happen when I was 12 and this happened when I'm like, nope, they won't let go. They're telling me 15. It's, and this is
It's
where
so
I'm like,
hard for a lot of people that are put on the spot too. Hey, which would be frustrating for
it
both
is.
parties.
It is, but
Yeah.
it's interesting because they won't move, and the years are so specific. So I'm like, I've got this,
Yeah.
without a doubt, this is what they're saying. This is what you need to focus on. And then she'd been sitting on it for about 2 minutes, and I said, that's okay. Look, we can come back to that because I was getting other information. And then she just started breaking down. I'm like, are you okay? Did you want to share what's happening here? Do you need a moment? Do you need to go and get a drink? Do you need a little bit of space? Like, we're okay to pause if you need a pause. And she's like, I remember what you're talking about. She said, I was in a car accident at 15. My parents didn't know because I couldn't tell them I was out with friends. I didn't get medical assistance. So she didn't even get medical assistance for it. She was like, there was no one I could tell because, for starters, I wasn't meant to be out with my friends. So my parents didn't know, so I couldn't go back. So I had to hide this, and I just got on with life. So that's what was shown there. And she just broke down. She's like, I've never told anybody about it because I couldn't. So she had been carrying that all of her life.
Wow.
It's just, it blows my mind
And
the
blocked it
way
from her
how
mind.
specific. She did.
So kept it so much of a secret. It was a secret from herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until
Wow.
she realized what it was, and there were the emotions from years of putting it behind you.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
So the final thing that I wanted to talk to you about is your manifesting, and you mentioned before that you ask your guides to come up with the money for you. Is that the way that you manifest? Is you just ask?
These days it is. These days I am just asking for what I want, because at the end of the day, there's enough of everything for everybody. And
Yeah.
again, I don't think we need to make it as complicated as it needs to be. Like, if I'm just asking and I'm getting results, then literally that's how easy it is.
Yeah.
Like, for me, before being visual, in the sense where, like, my meditations were never visual. So I couldn't do a visual, like, meditation, especially a grounding one. I always like to use that as an example. Visualize you're leaning against a tree. Visualize you've got roots coming out of your legs, and they're going deeper and deeper into the core of the earth. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I would just basically say it, and so it is. So if I was doing meditations like that, I'm saying it, and so it is, as it's transpiring. But I've had meditations where I have dreamt So I think my first car, um, I went into a car yard and I was like, I can't afford that. There's no way. I've never financed before. There's no way. And then I
Yeah.
remember hearing like, yes, you can. And then I remember getting visions of me being in that car like over the weekend and that I had to go and see them first thing on Monday. So I was like, okay, well, let's try it. If it's a no, then it's a no. I haven't lost anything. It's the same. Life is the
Yeah.
same. I got finance that day and I was like, how? Like, how? So like little things like that. I remember like learning to ride a horse and then I was having a dream that I was riding a horse bareback and I'm like, there's no way. And literally
Yeah.
that weekend I was riding a horse bareback. And then other times it was like I would get really emotional, like emotions would build up and I'd be frustrated where I am at life and then crying and being ready for change and giving myself permission. So,
Yeah.
but all of those emotions, those deep, angry emotions and everything raw is coming
Yeah.
up and I'm going, well, I'm ready. I don't want this situation anymore. I need change. And then things transpiring from that. So for me, it's worked in several different ways, but I don't have a one set way of doing something. Just these days,
Yeah.
I'm just asking for, if it's meant for me, it will come. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah. So it's asking and then letting go
Yeah. The letting go
effectively.
is important, I think. The letting go
It's
is
extremely
you
important.
surrendering
Yeah.
to that process. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by people probably wonder how you let go. And what I tell people in regards to that is it's not not minding about the how it manifests, because the
Yeah.
how is really none of your business.
Yeah. That's what
You
I,
just
I
put it
say as
out
well.
there, and you just stand back, and whatever
Yeah.
will be like. You can do things to align your vibration to it.
Yeah.
You need to take some sort of action in a way. You can't just say,
Exactly. Yes.
I want an island in the Caribbean and then just go, come to me. It doesn't really work like that. But
Yeah.
if it's not meant for you, but yeah,
But that's the thing, like we can ask for specifics, but the how it comes in, we really have to get out of our own way with how that looks like. And
yeah,
I agree with you there because I'm forever telling people like just ask, but get out of your way.
yeah,
Like be open to opportunity, be open to options. If it's
yeah,
coming to you, and it might not be in a way that you're familiar with, but you still have to be open to it. You've asked for
yeah.
it. They're only going to
And
show up. It's
that's
only going to
right.
show up a few times before it gets taken away, and you miss that opportunity too.
Yeah, but where people trip up is they put it out to the universe, and then they let go, and the first thing that happens after that doesn't seem to them like it aligns with that goal, so they think they've
Yeah,
buggered it up.
yeah,
No, didn't do it. Start again,
yeah.
or just
Or
I'll
it
do
or it
something else
comes
because it's
in and
obviously
they
not
go,
aligned.
yeah,
Yeah, when they
or
don't
they go,
realize
oh,
that there needs to be a series of events that get you there.
yeah.
Yeah, and some of them might not look like it, but
Or
it all
they
leads
have a
them to each
time
other.
frame, like, oh my gosh, like I've waited 3 months for this. I've been asking for 3 months, and it's like,
Yeah,
well, have patience. It's
yeah,
coming.
yeah,
Get out of your
yeah. It's
head.
a
Get out of your
housemate.
mindset, and just
What'd
yeah,
you think it was gonna do?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But it's always interesting. But I think that's the biggest one. It's like, how do I do that? How do I get out of my own way? How do I surrender to the control of what that looks like coming in?
yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Hey, so we're probably pretty good to wrap it up. I'd love to have you back on the show again another time. We can chat some more. I've got your handle down below, but is that the best way of people contacting you, or you got a website, or how can they best reach you to book in for
Yeah. So all of my
mediumship stuff?
socials are actually Insta and TikTok and YouTube are at Anita_3_3_3. Or
Hmm.
website is the other one. So www.energetisembrace.com.au.
Perfect,
Yeah.
excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really
Thanks so much for having
appreciate
me.
it. And the viewers, thank you for tuning in, for joining us, and I'll see you again next time. Love and light.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.